And here I am with Jentry Farmer of Farmer Hunt's Honey. And we are going to take the honey out of one of his hives. And I'm just going to be here to observe. So don't do this at home.
No, right now we're just trying to get the smoker going. I'm using sumac berries. Because once they get lit, they smoke almost indefinitely.
This looks like an old thing here. Is this an old thing?
Yes, I got it from my grandma's cousin.
So how old is that thing?
I have no idea, really. It was his smoker, and he got out of beekeeping 2 years before I started. And he got out because he was next to the airport and his bees kept dying every summer. And so there's different theories into why his bees in particular kept dying. None of them confirmed, except for the bee disease caused by the neonicotinoid pesticides.
So what is the smoke for anyway? What does the smoke do?
There's a couple different theories on the smoke. One of them is and they're all really believable. One of them is that it makes the bees think the hive is on fire.
Oh.
And so they go into escape mode, and they go in and they just start eating as much honey as they can, and they get ready to move to a new hive.
Well, wait a minute. Why you don't want them to eat the honey? Are we going to steal the honey away from them?
Well, they wouldn't eat enough. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's just enough to fill their bellies, so that way they can move from location A to location B.
How much honey do you think is in there? And this is where we're going to go, right?
That taller hive there, if all of those boxes, we call them supers, are full, then there should be 160 pounds.
Whoa!
We should be taking off
Seriously?
60 to 80 pounds of honey.
And how often do you do this?
We harvest once a year, right around this time.
Oh, so this is the only time I have to videotape you doing this?
Yes.
Huh? Great.
Yes, and once we go to open this, you might want to stand back.
Okay, well, in fact, I'll stand back here anyway and just use my zoom.
All right, okay. I'm going to try and get this lit one more time.
Just harvesting the honey.
I'm collecting their rent.
They probably don't like that, do they?
Not at all. Does anyone like paying rent?
Well, but what would they do with the honey if you didn't take it? What is it?
They would just if we did not harvest this honey, it would sit in the hive until they ate it, and they just continue filling it, except for in the winter they go into hibernation mode. But if this honey was on there, and next spring, within 2 weeks of the bees starting to work, they would probably split the hive, and half of them would start a new hive somewhere else.
Oh, wow.
We call that swarming. That's how the bees have actually survived this long in the wild, because they swarm on their own. When their hive is what they consider thriving, and I don't know what the standards for that is.
Then they make another hive.
They take they take the queen. They take the queen and they fly away. Half the hive, they fly away. Now this is where it gets kind of. So I'm smoking them, and one of the other theories, as I explained one earlier, that they think their hive is on fire, is that it actually interrupts their. It messes with their pheromones and their sense of smell, so they can't detect any other pheromones, which the pheromones is how they communicate. Could you bring me that spray bottle and that? We call that a stink board. But really what I'm doing right now is just trying to keep them as calm as possible, because they are going to get rather mad. If you want to just load that up with spray all over that board. Spray, spray, spray. What I've been spraying on this box, this top wooden structure over here, we call it a stink board, is a mixture of chemicals that they say contains a pheromone that the bees do not like, and so it pushes the bees off of the honey, but it also makes them really mad. And most beekeepers, when they do this, won't use smoke, but I'm just trying to keep the casualties down, because when a bee stings, that bee dies. And that's not good. It dies.
So it's not that you're worried about them biting us, you just don't want them to die.
In a sense. Go ahead and set it right on top of there. That's the manly way of looking at it, I guess. So we're going to set this right on top ever so gracefully as Ivan did. And now we wait. We play the waiting game. Because they're just going to get, that smell's going to push them out of there. And we're going to continue to puff the smoker. Now we wait about 10 minutes. So for this first super we're waiting on, we just play the waiting game. Once we get this one off, we'll put the board back on the bottom super, and we'll take this over and we'll blow the bees out of it. And once we have both honey supers off, there'll just be the 2 big boxes left, the brood chambers or deep supers. We'll spread a little medication on them and then leave them for the winter.
So now the honey, are you saying that like on these boxes, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 drawers is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Are those separate hives with honey in each one, or are they connected somehow? So like a little bee condo, or what is it?
Yeah, they're separate boxes. So you've got, these 2 are the shallow supers, also known as honey supers. And these come off. And we'll take them and we'll set them in the garage overnight, and then in a couple days we're going to harvest the honey out of the frames. These bottom 2 boxes, they're the deep supers, are the bees' honey. That's the honey we let them keep for the winter to eat and store, and that's also where the queen lays all of her eggs. So we call those the brood chambers, because when you get a mixture of honey, eggs, pollen, and larvae, and then bees, we call that brood on a frame, and that's the brood chamber.
What's this right here? Is this just another box?
This one was this here lies on dead hive.
Oh, that's a dead hive.
Rest in peace. Yeah. We tried splitting the hive, which means we bought a queen, and the queen came in this container right here, and we put the queen in here, and we took a couple frames of bees from an existing hive and put them in here with the new queen and tried to get them started that way, and it just didn't work out. They didn't, I don't know, it didn't work out.
They didn't like it.
They didn't agree with the queen, I guess. She was
Okay.
putting too much taxes on the honey.
Okay.
But so we just waited a little longer, probably 5 more minutes on that. You could probably stop videotaping if you want for a second.
Well, maybe we can take this time to explain now. Again, what is this? You took the top off. I see that right there.
Yep, this
And
here.
this, and that is, what, it looks like a picture. What is that?
This is an outer cover, or inner cover, sorry. This goes on, just see how this is fitting perfectly on top. It's not overlapping and going
Yeah.
down.
Oh, that's like the lid then, that other thing.
Right. This is like the lid. And then this one is the outer cover. This goes over top of that, and it fits snug. And we put it on a little incline so that way there's an air gap and a way for them to get out. What?
Like that one over there.
Yeah. And that's how it looks like all finished up. And
Oh, so this one over here is already been harvested?
oh no.
Well, you have to harvest both of those?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we got 4 supers to take off, 10 to 15 minutes on each one, 40 to 60 minutes.
Okay, so then now I'm sorry, I don't understand. Why did you take that off and put that on?
This has a fabric top, so where this is wood,
Yeah.
there's also fabric on that. And Ivan sprayed this bee dun on there, and it's a really smelly chemical that it just contains some pheromones, and the bees don't like that smell, and so they try and get away from the smell.
I
they go
see.
down.
And that's why then you can take the honey out of the top too. I understand now. Okay, just took me a minute.
Now, some bees are stronger than others, and they don't care about the smell. They want to stay up here. So when we take this off, that's why we have the leaf blower over there to blow those remaining bees out, and we'll blow them out and then pull
Okay.
them over to there.
So we have a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, then can you tell me any stories? I mean, have you had any experiences where the bees kind of took over, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Last
What?
time we were doing this, on that hive over there. There's actually a hive where those cylinder blocks are as well. We were getting in there, and we had just taken 3 supers off of this guy. And so we're going to do the 4th and the 5th on that one. And right after we put this on top, we get chased away. We just the
They
bees
swarmed?
So there was just so much. It looked like they were crawling in through our gloves, like finding holes in, which they can find those holes, and then you're just stung. And getting stung on the hands, face, and feet, ankles area are some of the worst places to get stung because there's no cushion, no fat there, and so it just goes straight to the bone.
So what happened? What did you do? Did you have to run away and jump in the water, or what did you do?
We just walked over to some woods and walked through the trees a little bit, and that brushes the bees off. Whenever it's colder out, like they might do it today if they get stuck out of the hive. They kind of cling to you just because you're warm, so they'll just sit on you.
They don't like the cold then, right? Don't they go dormant in the when it gets cold out, right?
Oh yeah.
So that means they kind of like hibernate, like fall asleep, or what do they?
Kind of. Their metabolism slows way down. In the summertime, a normal worker bee, she'll live anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. She's guaranteed those first 2 weeks because she's in the hive nursing. She's a nurse bee, so she's feeding the eggs, the larvae, and attending to the queen. And then the 2 to 4 week range, anywhere from week 3 to 4, I should say, 3 to 4, she is gonna be right at the entrance here, just flying in and out just as a guard bee. And then 5 to 6, week 5 and 6, she's out flying, getting pollen collecting. And
so when
in the winter, they live straight from now until May because they stay in that hive and they ball up around the queen, and the center of that ball is going to be the queen. That's 95 degrees all the way up to 52 degrees on the outside of the ball, and then whatever the winter temperature is up here, the outside temperature.
Wow, these body heat,
Yeah,
right, to keep their queen warm.
They vibrate and then slowly take turns on the middle and then work their way in and out.
Oh, that's interesting.
They're really cool.
Okay.
Now this here is kind of interesting and worrisome. This is a worm of some sort. We want to kill him, and I just made those bees kind of mad. But there's things called wax moths, and they led to the demise of a couple of my hives. They get into the weak hives, which is the reason this hive died. They get into the weak hives, and they just eat the larvae, eat their way through the wax and the bee larvae and eat it. And that's how they grow up. And there's actually a hive over here that we took apart, and as we're letting the larvae and stuff die, if you want to get a video of that later before you leave, and it's a nasty sight.
Now, we're in Swartz Creek, a lot of farmland around here, a lot of people using the crops that are genetically engineered that have their own pesticides. And isn't that really one of the prime reasons that we've had this problem with the bees? That they're getting affected by this pesticide that the plants produce? I mean, has that been a problem for you, or?
Oh, I haven't experienced the direct fallout from that. Many beekeepers in the area have, and it does come from the primary use. They just published this study. I think it was May sometime.
Yeah, in the United States.
In the United States.
Yeah, in Europe they've known about it for a while.
Yeah. Well,
okay, anyway.
I mean, there's been activists saying, hey, you can't do this.
In Europe they've been,
But
anyway.
the study was finally confirmed. It was neonicotinoid pesticides. The half-life on it is extremely big or small. I don't know what the proper terminology is, but basically it doesn't diminish. It takes a long time for that pesticide, that chemical, to leave the soil. So something that's applied to this chemical, so this chemical is applied to a plant now, that chemical is going to be in the soil and affecting everything else in that soil for the next, I don't know the exact number, but 10 to 20 years. It stays there. It slowly diminishes, but it gets ingrained in the DNA of other plants that go there, and they have done studies and found that corn, for example,
Corn's
that
a
has been
big-
treated with neonicotinoid pesticide, they've gone to fields around there and collected samples, pollen samples from dandelions around there, and they have found the neonicotinoid pesticide in those dandelions.
And that's killing the bees.
And that is killing the bees.
So it's
slowly
not
over
gonna.
time.
So it's just not going to. It's going to keep being. It's going to keep killing the bees for at least 20 years, even if they quit using that today, right? Have they quit using it?
Theoretically, no. Not. I mean, I don't know of places around here that do or do not use it.
But it's not illegal to use this
But
substance.
it's not illegal, and even the use of it isn't directly harmful to the bees. It's the excessive and over application of said pesticide. It's putting it both in the flower's DNA and applying it to the flower after the flower has blossomed. If you apply a pesticide to a flower after the petals have fallen, it won't affect the bees if applied correctly, because the bees if the flower's already off, it means it's already been pollinated. The bees already come there, and as long as it's applied correctly, meaning limited amount, it won't get in the soil and affect next year's crop either.
Okay.
So the bees are starting to fly around a little bit more now. I'm going to bring the leaf blower over here, put my gloves and stuff on, and just take a look at how many bees are in there.
Okay.
They are starting to fly out, and this is the time, if you see multitudes of them coming around, or if you can feel, don't run, don't panic. I mean, their first line of defense, because scientists say that the bees recognize they'll die if they sting. So their first line of defense is to fly in and headbutt you. They'll just fly in, and you can generally feel that. And if you feel that, just back away. And that's just a life lesson anytime. If you're walking around and you feel something going like this, and you realize it's bees, just stay calm and walk away.
Okay. Cool.
So I'm gonna get this leaf blower.
Don't get too close to the front of the hive. It's dangerous.
I'm just trying to get the bees.
I don't like it to breathe on.
There we go.
Makes them aggravated.
So the thought occurred to me that I should blow the bees off when I'm close to the hive, so that way. Oh, they did all this is all we need. We're just gonna blow them off right here. Alright, are you all suited up? So, it appears, if you want to walk over here real quick, if you feel comfortable enough, go around the wide way. If you want to look in here real quick.
So I can put the camera in there?
Yeah. Just look down. It looks empty and deserted. Alrighty, now you're going to want to back up. So I'm going to bang this a little bit. Try to be gentle, but you got to get it in there. They have what's called propolis, and they use a mixture of wax and other gooey substances, enzymes that they produce on their own, and they make what's called propolis, and it's a really sticky, glue-like substance that they use to seal up any holes and stick things together. So we got them out of that super, and even kind of out of this one. They're still kind of calm. Well, you can't see too many of the bees. This stuff, I think it smells pretty good. It smells like a mixture of what'd you say? Lemon pledge, and any. Do you get any sort of cough drop feeling from that? Yeah, I smell some of that. Now we can bring this over here, and this isn't too heavy, which is kind of disappointing. But there's a couple bees in there, so we'll just take this. Now you might want to stand off to the side. Can you hold that real quick, Ivan? Now, it's amazing that none of the bees came out because there are most definitely bees in there. And actually, if you'd like to see, you can probably take it close. You want to try some honey? Fresh raw honey? You can come closer. Let's just walk it this way. Because now we've got the stink board back on top of our hive, and it's pushing the bees out of the top, honey super. And we can take a look at some of our crop here. We'll take an outside one because that's normally, this isn't too outside. There's a little bit of capping on it, but if there was more pollen in the air, if there's more flowers blossoming, we would expect to keep this on longer. But if you look right here, this is capped, finished honey. This is what the whole frame should look like. And the next super we'll pull out, the whole frame will look like that. But if you go on the edge here.
So are these little things, is that something you made or is that something the bee made? Did the bee make these things right here?
These, yes, they did. The comb.
Yeah.
Yes, they made that. We put in a little wax, just like a wax piece of paper basically. It's no paper, it's all wax. And they built this up from that.
Wow.
So if you just stick your finger in there.
Did they use the wax that you gave them?
No, they produce wax.
I can't eat it.
You gotta kind of stick it.
I gotta pick my head up though. I can't.
Oh no, just kind of like try and stick it through the
hole. Oh, I don't want to do that.
Through the net. I've done that before.
You don't care?
Not in that one, but
okay.
Just so you know, you're not. Yeah, I don't care. But it's really good, isn't it? Yes. And you can
great.
continue to go. Now.
How are you going to get the honey though into a jar? I mean, is it just going to look like how do you get the honey into a jar?
We take, and so as I said, this is the cappings, right? Mm-hmm. This is capped honey. We could leave this just like this. We could set this in there for like 100 years. As long as it's covered up and ants don't get to it, 100 years from now, this is going to be just as good. Just as safe to eat and just as good. But they cap it. And we take a big, long knife, and it heats up and it cuts the cappings off, and then we put it in a spinner. It's almost like a centrifuge, and this thing spins it and it gets the honey spins out to the sides and then falls down, and we jar it from there. We filter it and then jar it.
Cool. Okay, well, here, type some if you want. Okay, so thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was very fun. Thank you very much.